Welcome to the Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast. Tonight, Terry Selders and If Not For Me. This episode is sponsored by Water Day Properties. And now your hosts, Daniel Kine and Alan McCutcheon.
Welcome to the Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel.
And I'm Alan.
Coming up, we have Terry Selders, director of the Keystone Musical Arts Center, as well as he's on the advisory committee for the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame.
And following Terry, we have Cody Frain, the drummer for local band If Not For Me, recently signed to In Vogue Records. I can't wait to sit down and talk to both of them.
We have Terry Selders from the advisory committee of the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame, also the director of the Keystone Musical Arts Center. Terry, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Let's start with your background. How did you get to where you are now? How did you get to this point?
Well, first of all, sorry about my voice. I was in New York over the weekend. The school, Keystone Musical Arts Center, we ran a bus trip to New York City to see a Broadway show. Went up to see Aladdin, which was actually awesome. I'm not a big Disney fan, but man, these Broadway shows are amazing. The athleticism, musicality, it was just amazing. But it was a cold, rainy day, and I think I got a little something. Took COVID test, not COVID, but I'm just getting over it. But anyway, excuse the voice. I went to school for music business, but this was way back in the 80s. And it was before the music business programs were more developed like they are now, like what you have at Lebanon Valley College and Millersville and stuff, which are much more advanced. And I did my internship with Warner Brothers, which was awesome, but it was Warner Brothers Publishing, print music publishing. Learned how to edit and proofread music for print, which I did then for decades afterwards, which was awesome, a great freelance thing.
That's awesome.
But I got to meet a lot of great people, and some of my friends that I met at Mansfield were guys that became the Badlees, and that's what most people know me for is managing the Badlees. But what I did right after college, though, is I moved to New York City and managed some recording studios. And this is back before there was the internet. So I answered an ad in the back of the Village Voice, said, weekend manager needed for downtown recording studio, must be a college graduate, pays minimum wage. And
love it.
Yeah, it was great. So that sounds like me, you know?
I'm the perfect candidate.
Yep. So you would go in at like 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and you would literally stay there until 10 o'clock on Monday morning. And so 50 hours straight.
Oh my gosh.
But it was awesome. I mean, kid right out of college, you know, lived a whole life in like Pennsylvania, or originally from Baltimore. But it was all like Latin hip hop music and R&B type stuff. You know, it wasn't really my kind of music, but I really learned about the business. And it was just a tremendous experience. And we did like Public Enemy's first album was done there.
Oh, wow.
And probably the biggest thing that and it still haunts me to this day is the song by CNC Music Factory, Everybody Dance Now. You hear that all over the place. You know, it's like sort of commercial now. Everybody dampered, you know.
Yeah.
And there was like
Every day I hear that commercial.
There was, what was there, an Easter card. Everybody dance. You know, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. They're still making money. It's unbelievable. But anyway, and I also managed at Unique Recording up in Times Square. Wow. And then I got a job for meeting people there. I worked for Basement Records, which was another little Latin hip hop label, but it was only two guys that ran it. They produced it, all the music, and managed the artist, and I was the only employee, which again was awesome because I got to do everything. I did radio promotion on weekends. I did tour management, so I flew all around the country doing tour management, Puerto Rico even. I mean, it was just, I just learned all the ins and outs of the business. But again, it wasn't my kind of music. And so when my friends from school, Ron and Jeff from the Badlees, contacted me and said, hey, I think we have something here. Would you be interested in getting involved with us? You know, I jumped at the chance. And so I ended up moving back to Pennsylvania to work with the guys who became the Badlees, and that was the whole 90s for all of us. I created a record label, Right Off Records, put out their records on my label, and in 95 we got the record deal and toured the country, and everything was going great until the label got bought up by a bigger label, and they kind of put us on a shelf for a little while. And as things happen a lot of times, unfortunately, you know, the artists that were selling millions of records, Sheryl Crow, you know, to keep them on track, artists that were not doing anything or, you know, or not much, they dropped them. But the rest of us that were doing okay, they just said, just wait around while we figure out what we're going to do. And of course, you know, you can't do that to an artist.
No.
And that's not, and they didn't just sit around. They actually ended up, you know, recording a new album without telling the label about it. And we begged to get out of our deal. And I think it was like the day we released Amazing Grace, it was the day we got released from the deal. And we already had another record produced, the Up There Down Here album, and eventually we signed that over to another label. So I worked with them through the rest of that decade. And then in the 2000s, I got out of the business for a brief period of time, the dark period of my life, as I like to say.
Okay.
And to get back into the business, I put together a compilation, the Central PA Christmas compilation, which is interesting because this is what, you know, the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame does this now, you know, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I did this back in 2004, and I wanted to see what bands were out there, and it was really well received, and we actually created a band out of that. Jeff Feltenberger from the Badlees produced it, and a band called Grantham Road developed out of that. And I worked with them for several years, and then that fell apart. And then I got involved with a band from up north, up in the Wilkes-Barre area, called Panacea, hard rock band, fantastic band.
I heard the name before.
Oh, they're great. They were great. Worked with them for a few years, had them on, got them on regular rotation on Sirius Satellite Radio, unsigned band on Sirius XM Octane. I mean, it was incredible, incredible.
That's awesome.
And then it fell apart. Both times with these groups, the lead singer is like, you know, things are going great. I don't need the rest of these guys. I'm going to go out on my own. And, you know, and I got tired of managing bands and being more involved in the band than what
the band was.
Yeah, and what the band was, you know?
Yeah.
So the last band I managed was Small Town Titans. And believe it or not, this is before they were a 3-piece. They were a 5-piece at the time. I saw Phil Freeman at Lebanon Valley College at a conference they had there and was just blown away by his voice, and signed him without even seeing the band. But I signed him to a 6-month temporary deal just to see how it would work.
Yeah,
and
test the waters.
Yeah, and sure enough, there were problems. But the problems weren't with the 3 guys that are in the group now. It was, you know, not everybody was on the same page. And so
that seems to be an ongoing problem, a trend when it comes to bands.
Absolutely. So anyway, I dropped them, and they dropped the other people in the band, and they're doing great now, and that's awesome. And I made the total transition into working in education now, which is where I prefer to be.
So we have traversed such a journey here, Terry. And so one of the things that I really want to hit on here, because I think someone of your expertise and your caliber can really answer to. So, I mean, you've seen and you've really worked in the music industry from like the 80s on up. You've been in almost every capacity of the business. How does it feel like seeing how the music industry runs and is managed now compared to the way it was then? Like, how vastly different is that to you, seeing how it works now compared to the way it was when you were in the thick of it?
Well, when I was in the thick of it, it seemed so simple, because it was like if you could get on radio, that was the holy grail, because they were like the gatekeepers to everything, and they were the gatekeepers to the major labels, which were the gatekeepers to everything, you know? And so that was the plan, is like, if we could get on radio and build the Badlees up to the biggest thing in the area, so that the major labels could no longer ignore us, we'll get a record deal. It just seems like it makes sense, and it worked like a charm. You know, every single we put out, we kept making more progress. We would get more radio stations. You know, and I know you guys had Chris James on here a few months ago.
We did,
and he talked about the Badlees. Chris was the first person at a major radio station to officially add the Badlees to the playlist. And I don't know if you guys know what an official ad is, but that's when it's not that they just like put it on the local show or just play it once in a while. They actually put it on their playlist that they report to the trade papers and that sort of thing. Okay.
So like that's like the legit, like you're in the cycle now.
You're
like,
in rotation.
You're in rotation,
You're
constant
hear that
rotation.
song every day.
Right. And yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I remember specifically what he did when he first did it. It was a split ad with a group called El Kabong. I don't know. You probably don't remember them. I don't know whatever happened with them. And that was real early on in the band's development. And El Kabong didn't continue on, but the Badlees did. And Chris saw that we were making progress each time, you know. And so Chris was there from the very beginning with the Badlees. And I remember it was so great when we got our record deal. Then he came out to Hollywood and worked with us out there, and he introduced the band when they played for the label. We opened up for the Gin Blossoms on the Charlie Chaplin stage at A&M Records, and Chris was there to introduce the band to all the label people. You know, that was really cool.
That's
you know,
amazing.
That's awesome.
right? Absolutely. So
How was that detail left out of his interview?
well, there's so much. There's a lot of
That's
other
crazy.
stuff too.
Okay.
that he left out as well. Have to ask him about. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll address that with
There's a lot
him
of
then,
other
'cause
stuff too.
I want some more of those stories, but I mean, so that
But these days, you know, it's so. I mean, it's nice to say that, you know, anybody now can put their stuff out on the internet and anybody has access to it. But you know what? It's still got to be good.
yeah.
You know, and people still have to find it. You know, and
It's a very flooded market now.
it
because
is
of that.
unbelievably flooded. You know, and I keep going back to the Small Town Titans because you look at those guys, and they're working every angle. They're working all the online angles, and they're doing everything right. Plus, the fact is they have great music.
Yes.
Amazing.
You know, absolutely. So, I mean, it makes sense for them to do what they're doing. You know, and they're making tremendous inroads. I think those guys are going to be huge at some point. You know, I mean, they're continuing to get bigger. But yeah, it is so flooded. It's great for a music fan because every little micro genre you can think of is available to
It
you out
exists
there.
now.
You know, and that's awesome. But that also makes it harder for bands to make a living off of these things too, sometimes. But again, on the flip side of that, there are groups like that are finding a home on TikTok, and you know, they're finding people that like them that would have no other way to find them, and they're touring and they're making money.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, it's tougher for someone like me who likes to see a very easy cut and dry. This is how you do it, and then okay, so I'm going to do it this way.
Yep.
And here you've got to be trying every different angle, and you don't know which one's going to stick. You know.
So that's what's going to lead me to my next question then, because you've seen how this works. What would your advice be to some of these bands now? Because the algorithm, if you will, used to be like you said. You get on the radio station, you get in the regular cycle, then the labels can't ignore you because you're constantly being played. Your presence is known. Now you have to worry about TikTok algorithms, Instagram algorithms, X algorithms, Facebook algorithms, YouTube video trending algorithms. What would your advice be to someone that is trying to forge their path right now?
Yeah, well, I can't tell you exactly any of how to deal with all of that kind of stuff, but what I can tell you is that what was true back then is still true today, which is you've got to have these are the things that basically you need to have to be successful, which is, of course, obviously you've got to have good material, good songs, you want a good lead singer, you know, that
The
kind
fundamentals.
of stuff. The fundamentals, exactly. But what you also have to have is you've got to have something that makes you special. And I don't know what that would be, but something that makes you stand out from everybody else that's out there, you know? And it could be a number of things, whether it's, you know, Kiss with their face paint, you know, that gets the attention. Or, it's just an incredibly unique lead singer, or it's whatever, just something different that makes you special that will highlight all the other stuff that's very quality about you. Because, I mean, think about how many bands that are out there that have really, really great music that are just as good as everybody else you would hear on the radio or getting top Spotify plays, but they never break through, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that, you know? You got to have something special that people can latch onto, right?
Yeah.
But then also, it's super important that everybody in the group is on the same page, that there isn't one single person in there that's like, you know, not pulling their weight. You know, I remember I sat down with Crowbot. You guys know Crowbot?
That sounds
Yeah,
so
yes,
familiar.
I know Crowbot.
Crowbot, awesome band. They were this is before they got their record deal.
Okay.
And I sat down with them up at the Singer's House in Tower City, and they just gotten a new drummer. And I remember this guy saying, "Yeah, I figured I'd give this a couple years and see how it goes." And I'm like, it's not how it works. You guys have to be all bought into this 100%, or it's not going to work. And sure enough, when they got their record deal, the record company got a new drummer and a new bass player. You know, and they're doing great. I mean, those guys are just phenomenal. As a matter of fact, that was when I was working with Small Town Titans, I wanted to take those guys to see Crowbot to show them what a live show should look like. I mean, now I would take people to see Small Town Titans to
see
show
what a show should look like.
They
you
have
know?
phenomenal stage presence.
Yeah,
from what I understand.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody's got to be on the same page, and everybody's got to pull their weight, and you need to have a plan. And even if that plan changes, because it will,
I'm sure, yeah.
If you say, you know, we're really going to concentrate on TikTok, but then something really happens over here on this other platform, or some new platform comes along, you've got to pivot, fine, you know, but you have to have a plan. You have to be working towards something. And as long as you're constantly moving forward, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I think that's
Very
perfectly
important.
said. Like, I couldn't have heard it any better.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to have a plan to get to anywhere you want to go to. Now, I did want to ask about, I mean, thank you for going through this background. I do want to kind of move into what you're doing now a little bit. Right now, you are as we mentioned earlier, the director of the Keystone Musical Arts Center. So can you talk to us a little bit about that, maybe for any of our viewers that don't know what the Keystone Musical Arts Center is? Can you tell people what that is and maybe how they can get involved? Or
Well, it's a music school, a nonprofit music school. As far as I know, we're the only nonprofit here on the West Shore.
now, when you say music school, what does that entail?
We have teachers that provide private lessons and group classes for most instruments and voice.
Okay.
Also have a rock band program.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is very cool. We the building that we were in, we just recently left it, but the building that we were in, that we got started in 2017, we started with just a few teachers and a few rooms. And by the beginning of this year, we were up to 18 teachers and 10 rooms, 250 students. I mean,
That's crazy.
We were kicking butt. But unfortunately, as so often happens in marriages and churches and music schools, they break up. And we had an issue earlier this year, and the school actually broke into 3 distinct schools. We had 3 teachers leave this summer and started another school called Empowered Music, and we're wishing them all the best of luck. Danny Fiore is running that school, and we support them wholeheartedly. We, as the nonprofit, the originators of all of this, we left that location and are now our private lesson teachers are teaching at the Pollock Center, which is in Camp Hill, which is a tremendous facility attached to the Camp Hill Elementary School, where lessons have been going on.
Yep.
And our rock band program is with Rod Gels down at Rock Mill Industries. And
love those guys.
Love
Shout out to Rock Mill.
I tell you what, some of the folks that were with us at our previous location came into Rock Mill when we had an open house recently, and they were thrilled because they said, you know, at the other location, it was a nice location, but it was very clinical or antiseptic or whatever, you know. And you walk into Rock Mill, it's like, this is rock and roll. This is cool, you know.
Once you walk into Rock Mill, you're treated like family too. They're just such a bunch of good group of dudes. Like,
absolutely,
I love Rock Mill.
It's awesome. And you know what's cool is Logan actually moved into my neighborhood. I can see him walking past my house with his wife, and they're pushing their baby carriage.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's
I live in
awesome.
the same neighborhood as Logan.
Do you
so
really?
We'll have to talk about this after air.
Yeah. It's so funny because the first time I ever corresponded with Logan was because his dad, who lives in the neighborhood, was closing up his fish pond, and he needed to get rid of his fish, and I have a koi pond, so he gave me his fish, and I'm like, oh, well, this gives me an opportunity to introduce myself to Logan, so I messaged him on Facebook, and I told him what was up, and he thought I was maybe contacting him about studio work or something. He's like, well, that conversation didn't go where I thought it was going to go. You know?
That's funny.
Yeah, got your dad's fish.
That's awesome.
That's so great. I mean, I love that you do work with them now, because I mean, they're just such a wholesome company, you know, to work with. Great people, super involved with the Hall of Fame, you know, help out everywhere they can.
Yeah, we want to do a lot more. And I tell you what, getting involved with the Hall of Fame has been awesome, because a lot of what I had always wanted to do with the Keystone Musical Arts Center, when I sat down and talked to Brandon, when like all this stuff was going on with the school earlier this year, and I wanted to talk to Brandon, let him know what was going on, what the Hall of Fame is planning to do, or what Brandon's ideas were educationally, they really meshed with what I wanted to do with the Keystone Musical Arts Center. And then in talking to Rod Gels, a lot of what he wants to do fits into that whole scheme of things too. And with one of our teachers, Phil Freeman from the Small Town Titans, what he wants to do meshes with that as well. So I'm really excited to see where we can go with all of this. And I'm excited to be involved with the Central PA Music Hall of Fame. And you know, there's just a lot of possibilities here. You know, there's a lot of people that have their heads in the right place, and a lot of people involved, and, you know, it's exciting.
Agreed. I mean, we love being part of this family too. I mean, we feel humbled and honored to even be in the role that we do.
Yes.
We've experienced so many things, and like one of the best experiences is that we get to sit down with people like you. We get to see every other dynamic that goes into the foundation and the organization of everything. Because there is, like you said, there's so many people that are in this for the right reasons, and they have the right head on the shoulders to be able to do this and guide it. And we're just honestly excited to be along for the ride. And help in any way that we can.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the best part about what we do is, at the end of the day, what we're doing is just helping. And we're happy to help. You know, I think our music industry has something very special. Maybe you could probably attest to that. You've been around our music industry for quite some time now. I think it's easy to say the Central Pennsylvania music area just, man, we really know how to make them out here. You know?
Absolutely. First of all, I want to let you guys know, I think you guys are doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
With what you guys are doing, and again, with Rod, his podcasts, I listen to you guys, Rod, and Beato. Those are the three podcasts I listen to, and I put on my my AirPods and do stuff around the house, mow the lawn, whatever. These are the podcasts I listen to.
Thank you so much, man.
So you're in good company there.
I appreciate that.
We always love to have a viewer on.
As far as the music scene is concerned, I mean, what's really interesting is, you know, back when the Badlees were happening back in the 90s, you know, the music scene, we had there clearly were more places to play. You know, people were going out more. And I had those guys playing 5-6 nights a week. They would do acoustic shows during the middle of the week, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they would do full band shows, you know. They might go out and do like Pete and Jeff's shows in the middle of the week, something like that. But they would be playing all the time, you know. And it just became the thing, people to go out and see them. I mean, there was just this groundswell of excitement, you know, because people could see that something bigger was happening here. It was awesome, you know. But now nobody wants to leave their house, you know?
Yeah.
It's so comfortable, and you can do everything at home, you know? And everything's right there on your screen.
You have so much entertainment.
Big screen, whatever.
You can even look up live performances on YouTube, so you can feel like you're there.
Exactly.
And you can put it on the TV, and you're like, I'm there.
Right. But I think if COVID taught us anything, you know, there is a craving for real live music.
Absolutely.
After COVID, you see people are going out. I mean, now they're not going out like they used to in the middle of the week and everything like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, the big shows are back. Heck, people are going out to see the Badlees more than they ever did, you know?
Yeah.
And thank God. I mean, the Badlees sound phenomenal. They sound better than they ever did. And it's so great and heartening to see that and to go out to the shows and people reliving those memories with the band sounding so great, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's got to almost be nostalgic for you too as well, because it kind of takes you back to like the early days. You're like, man, it's just like before.
Absolutely, but it's even better than before because there's no pressure. Nobody's like, well, what's the next record? Or we got to make something better, or we got to make sure we match the last thing. It's like, we're just having fun, man. This is awesome.
That's like,
you
that's
know?
the peak goal. It's like, we did all the hard work. We did the thing. now we just get to enjoy the ride of what we created.
Absolutely, 100%. But you know what's different about the local music scene is that back in the 90s, that area, and I work with the Jellybricks as well, and some other local groups.
Great guys.
Absolutely, and they're still great guys. Great band, tight, just fantastic. But you would always hear the band say, you know, we support the local scene. We always really want all the bands to do really, really well. But they didn't always necessarily really mean that, you know, because if somebody else did really well, then that meant, you know, they'd be really jealous, and they really wanted to be the ones that were getting ahead, you know. But what I'm seeing now with what Brandon and everyone has created here with the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame is I see a lot more camaraderie. I see people really legitimately wanting everyone to do well.
Oh my God! You know? Especially in the youth music showcase. I mean, I think that's perfect. It's like you're impacting people at the right age to act appropriately and to have that camaraderie. I mean, we saw it a lot with Addie Grace, Faith Noel, and all that. Like all of them, especially when they came together to do that performance for the music video.
Baba O'Reilly.
Baba O'Reilly, and like
amazing.
we saw how much fun they were all having, and they're all so different, but they all had such a good time just doing something together and supporting. And like, if that's the direction that our future is going, that's the right direction for the future of our music scene.
I'm getting chills as you're talking about it because that was so well done, man. I mean, if anybody's watching this and they haven't seen that, my God, you gotta
watch it. You gotta watch it.
So well done, incredible.
That literally gave me chills watching it.
Yeah.
I mean, just the amazing, just hard work and talent that went into that. I mean, it speaks for itself. I'll leave it there.
It's literally it was flawless.
Well,
wow.
You know, and these were obviously, you know, this is like an all-star band, you know, so these are like top. But the thing is, there's still more out there. This area, there's a lot to draw from here, you know. So yeah, I'm excited about the future of working with the kids.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're going to be expanding the education side of the Hall of Fame, which is amazing, and we're really looking forward to that.
It's a critical role for sure. Terry, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Yes.
Especially being an avid listener that we did not know. But thank you so much for coming and sitting down and talking with us and helping us understand your background, what you're going to be doing for the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame, and the direction that you have for it. So thank you so much for taking the time and sitting down with us.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
At any time.
Man, Alan, Terry is really just a wealth of knowledge.
Oh my dude, just from the 80s all the way through, all of his experience being in and outside the industry, both as a promoter, manager, working in the studios, it's a plethora there.
Yeah, he's seen it all, and he's really helped out this local music industry. Couldn't be more grateful. Terry, thank you for taking the time for sitting with us.
Thank you so much. And we are sitting down with Cody Frain, the drummer of If Not For Me. Cody, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on. I'm excited to talk to you about all the things you've got going on here right now. So please, without further ado, let us know.
Hell yeah, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys having me. I thought you were gonna.
I had a brain fart.
More in there.
Yeah, I had a brain fart, and then you just took over, so it's all good.
Sick. We're off to a great start here. But yeah, really appreciate you having me. Huge respect for Central PA Hall of Fame and musicians. You guys do an awesome thing here, and I know it's.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I really appreciate
an awesome
that.
setup. Told you before, it's probably the first time I'm doing like a in-person podcast, so it's pretty rad.
Awesome.
We're happy to be your first man.
Hell yeah. Yep.
Thank you for joining
Pop
us.
it right. Yep.
I was gonna say it, but I was like, okay. I'm glad we sent it.
Full send right away. You know.
So there's a lot going on right now with If Not For Me. You guys are blowing up. You dropped an album last year. Have a new single out right now. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with the band.
Yeah. So last year we put out the album Eulogy.
Yep.
It was our first full length and kind of like the first like rebrand for the band. The original members, Hayden, he's the guitar player. He started out multiple years ago, and then we have Patrick Glover now on vocals, Zach Allen on bass, and then I joined recently on drums.
Awesome.
So we kind of look at Eulogy as like our next step forward, like our rebrand.
You're coming together.
Yep. We kind of really went from finding our ways, going through different member changes and stuff, and we really found like a really concrete group. And I think like a big thing that Dieter's bands from continuing is just finding that core group, that really vibes really well. And man, we're all just like brothers in this band, and it's really awesome that we all have like different areas within the music industry that we can all bring to the table with If Not For Me and really capitalize on everything. It's been really sick. But yeah, so we were on Theory Records for Eulogy, and then we recently signed to In Vogue Records in June. We released our first song, Demons. Yeah, I've had so much respect for Nick Moore and In Vogue Records, and
it's a big deal.
They are one of if not my favorite like record label for sure.
Oh, they're so cool, and just just from someone who has a little bit of background in the music industry, just kind of like just seeing how In Vogue grew over time, just with Nick from Before Their Eyes being in a band himself, and then merging with Bob Becker from Fearless Records and creating Thriller into this new kind of like collab label that they have, where In Vogue's kind of more of the developmental, then eventually you get upstreamed if you do really well to Thriller. And it's just been honestly insane working with their team, and just like actually having a team that I know genuinely cares about us, and I kind of see that in how the reception of the songs are, and just the coaching from them has been great.
That's great.
Nothing but good things to say. You normally hear people ragging about the record label. I don't think I could ever do that with In Vogue, and
that's
that
amazing,
team, which is awesome, because I've been on really bad terms on record labels before, and it's never fun, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, one of the cool things, I mean, we were talking a little bit about off camera, but I think like any prior emo kid or anything would love to hear like who is one of the people that you work with.
Our project manager is actually the lead singer of Hawthorne Heights, which is
what?
honestly just pretty sick. Yeah, so it's just like cool just being like part of that family now, you know, just like so it's like people like God, when Hawthorne Heights, Ohio is for Lovers and stuff, that came out, that like really impacted who I became as a musician, and
oh my
like,
God,
that whole genre, that whole like Victory Records era into the Rise record, like metalcore, post-hardcore scene and stuff, just like it just really impacted who I became as a musician. And yeah, just to be working with this team of like bands that I grew up loving is just like super sick. So
yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, you're definitely part of a pretty like sick alumni now.
Oh my God, yeah, like it's just some other ones like Hotel Books, Kingdom of the Giants.
Yeah.
Like, just,
oh my God, yeah.
Being as an Ocean, like there's huge bands that were on In Vogue Records.
Being as an Ocean, they were like one of my biggest influences.
Yeah, just like perfect melodic hardcore metalcore vibes. Just like so sick.
So good.
And this all didn't happen by accident. You guys truly earned this position with this record label.
Means a lot. Yeah, we've been grinding forever. We were all just kind of in a bunch of, like I said, Hayden's the original member of the band, and we kind of all came at different various points into this progression now, me being the last member to join, but we were all like kind of in bigger bands in the music scene. Like I also play in the band Ascent Like Wolves. I play with drums for them, and Zach played in the band Persona Gray. I did a lot of writing for other bands. Patty was in Imperialist, and then how things go, those bands kind of fizzle out and break down. Like you're always defined by kind of your weakest member, like the lack thereof members, and like so as you grow, it gets hard to be in a metalcore band when you're trying to do the duality of life. Being an adult in a metalcore band, it's not always the most responsible and logical thing to do. So some of those bands kind of fizzle out, but I mean, there's members in that have a huge passion for this, that just want to keep going and growing and growing. And what's cool with If Not For Me is kind of like all the members that really wanted to stay continuing doing music all kind of formed into If Not For Me now. A lot of the bigger central PA bands kind of formed into If Not For Me, and I don't know, I hate to say it like that, I just feel like we almost have like a little super group here. Like there's not ever a time where I just feel like any of my members just can't just crush any obstacle ahead of them, or I'm never worried about them live. It's just
that's gotta
really
be an awesome
feeling to have.
Yeah.
Literally
just
said the same thing.
Yeah, just like Hayden being a sound guy for so long and doing all the production stuff for us, like it's just been an incredible experience working with these guys. And I think just the whole team and just the vibes we have just really led to a lot of where we're at right now. And I've also so far I haven't really been the band that like I said, it's like your lineup's like such a crucial thing. Your family, your brotherhood, you know, you have to have the self-awareness to just kind of realize when you just got to let something go sometimes, or just like it's like a give and take. You can't hold all your members to the same financial standard, you know. You can't hold them to the same like look, I'm the only one here right now, like the same scheduling standards, you know, like everybody has their lives outside of If Not For Me that you have to kind of coordinate with to make the dream a reality. Cohesive business. You know, you have to be able to do what's realistic for not just the band but the individuals within that band. Because once you start kind of rocking the boat in individuals' personal lives within the bands, that's when you start to have sorts of drama and problems in a band. And with If Not For Me, we are just all so good at that. Like it's just we really just have like a family here, and I think it's really cool. It's really refreshing to see, and I love touring with those guys. In June, we went out with the band Archers,
Oh
and
my
then
gosh.
the band Until I Wake. Both
Love
incredible
Until I Wake.
bands.
Yep.
Yeah, super good friends of ours. Yeah, then we just kind of finished started finishing the new album. We got to work with some really, really awesome co-writers for this one. So I'm really stoked on the songs. They pushed us to write stuff we would have never been able to just like pull out of our butts our own. You know, like
Yeah.
it was just really inspiring.
Would you say this album working together? Do you see it? More of a development in the band and your writing abilities together?
Absolutely, because this is the first. Like Eulogy was mainly written by Hayden and Zach.
Okay.
Okay.
So with this one, I got to be a part of the band writing the drums. Also, obviously, Patty wrote that too. But I got to be part of it too, and we got to work with 3 different co-writers on the song.
Wow.
On the album too. So it just really was able to put such a bang behind the music and just get a lot of influences that we probably never would have gotten. I mean, like I'm really confident in the band's ability to write on our own, but just kind of having that outside perspective here and there was just like so cool. They would be like just taking us back and telling us to do things differently that I probably would have never thought of in the moment.
It's kind of like an ace up your sleeve in
Yeah.
a moment, like in that clutch moment. But I mean, obviously, all of this is coming together, and it's coming together well because I mean, right now at the time of our filming this, I mean, Blameless, your guys' new single, it's number 8 on the Apple iTunes metal charts, correct?
Yeah, honestly, the reception of Blameless has been really awesome. It's only been out for a little over a week now. It's already about 120,000 streams on Spotify. It's trending really hard on TikTok right now, which is sick. Which TikTok's a whole new learning curve we had to figure out this year. Just it's kind of the name of the game now in the music industry.
Yeah.
Could rant about that, but it's a whole other thing. But yeah, it's been really sick. We're just kind of continuing pushing that. I think I don't know. It's actually probably one of my personal favorites that we have so far.
It's
So,
really good, man.
it's
It's
kind of
very
what
catchy.
it's like all the stuff that I think, if not for me, does really well as a band. Like
Yeah.
just from doing like the cleans, the heavy breakdowns. There's a huge breakdown in Blameless.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Just
love
kind of stylistic drumming. Really cool production stuff on this new album. We did a lot more production stuff with
Okay.
it, which is like were huge influences of like Bring Me the Horizon, bands like
Yeah.
that. And we're also really into pop music, which is probably crazy. Like Hayden and I love pop music, like dark pop music and stuff too. So we kind of tried to incorporate some of those elements into the band as well, which
Really?
I'm really stoked for people to see. Like, yeah, like our song Feel Me Now, it's probably one of our softer songs, and there's barely any screaming in it, but it was, in my opinion, probably one of our most well-received ones recently.
Okay.
That's dope.
But yeah, it's kind of just, we're trying to, all these singles that we're putting out are trying to be strategic and just showcasing different dynamic structures, what the band can do.
Yeah. Well, and you have so much talent in this band. I mean,
Well, thanks, man.
of course. and you guys, it's none of you guys are amateurs. You guys are all seasoned musicians. You all over a decade in not only the music scene, but in the music community. You've all been playing. I mean, probably more closer to 15 years. But yeah, I mean, me and Patty go back, I don't know, almost 7 years, almost a decade. And Patty's been a phenomenal musician. I've seen the work that you've done, and
appreciate it.
And everybody else in the band, I've heard nothing but great things. So, I mean, I think you guys have just a world of opportunity in front of you, and I'm so happy that you're taking this opportunity to showcase all of your individual talents together.
Thanks, man. That really means a lot. But yeah, this whole album has been just an absolute blast to write. We got to go to Michigan for 2 weeks to write with one of like the producers that we've been working with, and just to like finally just be away for 2 weeks with our team, just like hanging out writing music was just such a surreal thing, because I mean, you guys
you're legitimately being taken serious. By something.
Yep, and we're trying to take our craft as seriously as possible. Like
Yeah.
and it's cool that we have like a team that can kind of back us a bit with it too. Like before, you guys know it's very expensive making music, especially when you're like you're a DIY band for the most part. Like you basically have to book studio time whenever you have the money and just kind of like slowly chisel away at it. Which it was really nice with this one, where we just kind of did it in big blocks, and it was really fun. And then we all had a great time doing it. Like I hate when I see artists just like they put so much stress into making the album, and then because of all the stress they put into it and like their worries of if it's going to do well, they see other people showing all their success stories. No one ever says the failures. They just show their success stories on Facebook, which is very mentally draining,
Absolutely.
And then they end up like resenting their album when it comes out, just because of all that stress that went into it. They don't like push it out as much because they lost that momentum, they lost that fire behind it. And with this one, I just keep getting more ramped up every single. Like we are just so stoked.
That's awesome.
That's sick, man. I mean, the other cool thing is, I mean, you guys, like I said, well deserved, well earned,
Thanks,
everything.
dude. Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, you got. I mean, I can speak personally from like Patty. I mean, I've met you. I've seen you in passing. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I've played shows with you in the past, and everything. But we've never really like had the chance to talk. But like meeting you now, like knowing Hayden, knowing Patty, I don't really think I ever got a chance to talk to Patrick very often. But I've known him from Persona Grey. But like, all of you guys are just super nice too, and like, very
thanks, man.
approachable and like humble. And I think that's like I think that's honestly like really important to fans too, because like I'll be honest, like as you know, as a musician but also a fan, like I can love a band, like I can like, oh my god, like their music's so good, but then if you see like an interaction with them, like whether it's like live or like you hear like a story, like you see like a video on social media, like where they're just being like just absolute jerks, like just ungrateful people, you're just like for me, I'm like your music's not good anymore. Like I will like seriously just stop listening to them.
100%. I mean, humility is one of the biggest things you can have. I don't know. We just all know how we want to be treated, and we've been like big leagued by bands all the time. We deal with it all the time, just being an emerging touring band. Sometimes, like it's just crazy how some bands treat you for like no reason. But I mean, that is what it is. But yeah, we just try to do everything we can to just relate as much as possible. Like we're just a bunch of awkward dudes, just love music. You know, like we're just trying. Like I'm just trying to play drums, and if you want to see me drum, or like you guys like you want to hear me talk, like hell yeah, I appreciate that so much. It means the world to me that somebody actually cares what I have to say or what we do in our music, like our passion. It's just really cool to see people actually caring about it. Because hell, I mean, I've been at this since I was 14 years old, and it's just like.
You're like, God, thank God it's finally paid off.
It's nuts. But I mean, at the end of the day, though, it's just I always tell like bands and just even myself all the time, like if you don't give up, it's just going to happen. It sounds so lame, but it's just so many bands just give up because it gets hard. This is going to be hard.
Yes.
You are going to fail. You have to embrace that failure, or you're never going to grow from it. You're never going to learn. Like I've seriously had some of the worst situations happen to me on stage where like I grew from. I've had my whole drum set fall off stage multiple times. I've had my click tracks being played through the audio in the front of house just because I wasn't there. I didn't have that learning curve yet, you know, like I've dealt with that. I got booed at the Champ already because of like backtrack issues and stuff and some bands like, but no one ever talks about those failures, you know, and to me, they're seriously some of the most important parts in like a musician or just anybody's life and anything you do. So yeah, I know we just try to be as humble as we can. And I don't know, we love when people talk to us. It just, that means the world to us. So,
absolutely.
Of course. You guys are so easy to talk to. I mean,
thanks. I don't know. We like to rant a lot, and you're going to get a lot of awkward rants from me probably today. But
hey,
it's great.
That's what we got you here
that's what
for,
we
man.
do
what it's
best,
all
baby.
about,
That's how
man.
we got
Yeah.
into this.
So I mean, if it makes you feel any better, by the way, the worst on stage thing that happened to me was both our guitars cut out at the exact same time in the middle of a breakdown.
Oh,
So
no.
all that was left was the drums and the bass guitar and my vocals. And it was the most awkward breakdown because I had to continue because it happened like mid scream and I had to acknowledge it. And I was like, I have to finish this breakdown. And it was just like so awkward. And it ran to the end of the song. And then they were able to fix it in between the songs. But like it was like a whole 30 seconds of just drums, bass, and screaming. And I was like, cool. They always say, like, you know, if you mess up, just play through it. People don't know. They'll think you wrote it that way. Everyone knew we did not write it that way. Like,
that's a good thing to say mentally because it's all about confidence.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
but at the same time, yeah, everyone probably noticed. I
Everyone
will say
noticed
though,
that.
if you handle a situation really confidently, like nothing happened. Like I've already dropped sticks before, but if you just don't even show that you dropped a stick or something,
Yep.
nobody will even notice that.
that's true.
It's all how you handle it. But I've already seen guitar players where their guitar stops working for whatever reason, and they just kind of freak out from the stress in the moment, and then just throw like a hissy fit on stage. You do that, you're gonna lose face to the crowd immediately.
Yes.
You got some really good points, man. I think these are a lot of things that a lot of people don't get to hear because you do see some of this stuff happen, whether it's from major leagues, minor leagues. It doesn't matter. I mean, I've seen it. You've seen it. But it's
Yep.
like I don't think a lot of people have ever had someone like say that. Like it's true though. Like once you freak out like that, people are like, oh, like that was off-putting.
It's all confidence. It's all what you put out to the band. Like you can see I can look at a band anytime and be like, you've only played a couple of shows together, because
You can just
they don't have the confidence on stage to own it. Like me, when I go on stage anymore, I'm like, this is my time.
Yes.
Like I've worked so hard to get maybe 25, 40 minutes of your time, so you're gonna listen to me, and I'm gonna have a blast doing it. We're all gonna have a great time. You know, that energy radiates into the crowd and gets fired back at you. It's a give and take.
That's true.
Well,
But if you look up, if you look up there and don't if you're on stage and you just kind of look really awkward, like you don't know what's going on, you're not really playing into it, you're not getting into it, the vocalist is kind of like this,
Yeah.
the crowd's just immediately going to dismiss you. But if you
Yes.
come out immediately just like full confidence right away, you hook, line, and sinker them. You got them.
Because the fans are there to be
presence
entertained.
matters.
It's a show. You're
It's a
meant
show.
to be entertained. Yep.
I mean, so you guys have done some pretty extensive touring from signing to In Vogue. I mean, and you guys have some more touring coming up. Tell us all about it. Like, tell us where people can come out and hear you guys do your whole song and dance, man.
For sure. So what we did just to kind of keep busy for all this, we're going to be releasing a bunch of singles into next year as well. So we're just trying appreciate that. Just to try to keep all them. It's all about keeping momentum up.
Yeah.
Just being in people's timelines and social media as much as possible. We live in a world that you only have like you have attention span of like nothing anymore in music.
Yeah.
That's why you see singles getting shot out all the time. It's not like people don't have the ability to listen to a whole album anymore.
Yeah.
You have to keep showing up in people's timelines. Everything's so oversaturated. So what we decided to do, instead of just trying to do like a full run like last minute with all this, we just decided to book a bunch of weekenders, so like every weekend from basically the end of October into December.
Wow.
All across different areas of the upper East Coast and like kind of getting to the bottom. The lowest show down in the South is Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
Dope. Okay.
But yeah, the first weekend is might screw this up off the top of my head, but
It's all good, man. It's all good.
it's
all good.
yeah, it's
Don't take it to the bank,
Yeah,
guys.
we'll link it.
okay. November 10th, you got Winchester, West Virginia. November 11th, we have Claymont, Delaware. Then November 12th, we have Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Awesome.
Then the next weekend, we're just gonna be alone on that one. Then the following weekend with our good friends in Soft Spoken. I don't know if you ever heard
Ooh,
about
yeah,
them.
dude,
They're
Soft
a
Spoken's
sick
good.
band. They're from Kentucky.
Soft Spoken's real good.
Yep. So it starts out. I think it's Thursday the 16th. I want to say, in whatever the Thursday is then at.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
Yeah. It's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at the Hard Rock Cafe. It's
Okay.
gonna be kind of cool to play Hard Rock.
Dude,
Hopefully it's
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, what?
I was
That's
pretty blown
dope.
away when the promoter said that was the venue for it. I was like, all right, let's do this. I like eating wings and burgers there. Let's make some
Let's make some
Yeah.
money
make some
someday.
metal, you know.
It's not
All right.
Denny's, but it'll do.
Yeah.
You
The
can
hell
get
is up, Hard Rock? Sounds a lot better, you know.
Dude, you guys have to do. Like, if there's people there eating,
Yeah.
you have to do that. Like, I guarantee you guys will probably be like the new meme, like the 2.0 meme of that original meme.
I don't know if anybody could beat that meme, unfortunately.
I
It's
don't
just
know, but
too
you can
incredible. But yeah, so we have that one. It's actually the 16th. I remembered it now. Then the 17th of November, we're playing at Angels Rock Bar in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
We have an off day around Richmond, Virginia. We'll probably try to hop on some show or make a pop-up show or something. And then we have Raleigh, North Carolina on the 19th. Then we took a week off for the holidays then. And then the week after that, we're going to be in with our friends in Monument of Memory. It starts, they're an awesome band. November 30th, a Thursday, it's at Teaneck, New Jersey at Debonair Music Hall. Then we go to Gardner, Massachusetts.
Okay.
We're playing at Eagles Hall, I believe it's called. Then we go to Providence, Rhode Island, playing the Alchemy. That place is sick. We love going there. And then we end that little run on Sunday, the 3rd, at Worcester, Massachusetts, at this place called The Raven. We're playing with this really sick band called Late 9 as well. So I think that's going to be a packed show. It's like their hometown.
Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
Dude, you want to do our job, man? Because you got a memory, dude.
Well,
Like,
I
if
booked
you
the whole
asked me to
thing, so
talk
like
about that, I
it's,
could not do that.
I'm kind of obsessed with it because I've been having to send all the emails and put it together.
Okay.
But you know,
I'm sure it
But
burns into your
dude, I
brain.
don't know, man. You might put me out of a job. Like,
I
you
know,
just
I have a
rattling
horrible
that
memory.
stuff off. That is awesome.
But
But
yeah.
dude, that is sweet.
Yep, and the weekenders are great too because like it looks like you're constantly crushing it all the time to an outside perspective. Remember, like I said, it's all about showing up in people's timelines, showing it, making it look like you're doing that musician thing. You know, you're that touring musician. But little did they know, we can work then
Yeah.
during the week, and we don't have to have any of the really shot Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday shows. You know.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
then you get to hit different regions that are around you with different bands that are around your size in different regions, and it really just like we did it last year, and it really helped us grow. And now like we can easily book venues across this area just because we have that face in there.
Mhm.
That's
You
awesome.
get your foot in the door there,
Yep.
and yep.
And you take a photographer with you, you know, you make it look like you're playing shows all the time. It's so awesome to kind of like people look down on weekenders, then like screw you, you don't know what you're talking about. Like it's seriously how you keep it with just doing the duality of life. Like It takes a while to make a lot of money in music.
Yeah.
There's a lot of grind before you eventually get a payoff.
Yeah.
Like even the biggest bands that you look up to probably don't make as much money as you think they are and have some sort of part-time job.
Oh yeah. It was surprising me whenever I first learned about that, and it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's like, really, but you know.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's just about how you again like work with your team and try to realistically make some sort of plan that is strategic for you guys. It's not going to destroy the individuals within your team.
And it's not going to burn you out either.
Exactly. You got to find that kind of duality there and just compromise with it, because like there's not like a set in stone rule book on how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Everything's like variant between what works for one band's not going to work for another band. It's all what you can do without burning out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So I mean, I got to ask you for like one last question here.
For sure.
So you've done it. You did it. You were that kid that was like, I want to start a band.
Trying.
You did all the things, but you've reached to the point. You've at least reached the point that a lot of bands that were in this area, they were striving to at least hit that checkpoint. You've done that. I mean, and to be honest, and to be fair, you personally have done it twice.
Well, thank you.
With 2 different projects. What is the biggest piece of advice that you can give to these bands and these groups right now to even hit that checkpoint and then to keep breaking through that ceiling?
Man, I could rant to you about this for a whole other podcast, but I mean, just like, and to be short about it, like, kind of what I was already talking about. Like, you just have, if you
did give a lot of good advice already.
If you want this kind of stuff, it's not going to be easy, and you're competing with so many other people who want it just as much as you do. So you have to take it, no matter what. You're going to fail. I've crashed and burned so many times in this pursuit. I was living in the Chameleon Club for a little bit, just because I didn't have any. I had to work there, you know, and it was just like so hard. The one band I was playing in, we came back from China, South Korea, and Japan, and just crashed and burned from the experience over there. And it was hard. Luckily they helped me with all that, but I grew from that then, though, you know, like you grow from failure. You don't back away from failure. You embrace it.
Yes.
Seriously, because like I might have failed like hundreds and hundreds of times to have maybe one success, but that one success is all you need to keep growing with it. Because as soon as you stop for it, you lost all momentum that you've created, and then it was all for nothing.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it. Like, if you really want it, it's you do it or it's all for nothing.
Yeah, you choose where you give up.
Yep, and like it's just something I just want to say to like, I don't know, like younger bands, like don't let social media and the perceived success of other bands from all their quote unquote success stories that they're sharing undermine what you're doing or make you think lesser than it. Success will come eventually. Again, just stick with it. Just be patient with it. You see some bands blow up on TikTok every now and then. Like, so I've already seen bands play like 5 shows and then just blow up on TikTok and become this huge touring band or something. Like, that's a very outlier situation. Yeah. You can't look at that as the model for things. That's, again, every band's success is a variant success story.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of variables that go into that only worked for them due to timing, for instance. Like a lot of it's luck and timing. But again, as long as you stick with it and keep taking every opportunity you can, that luck and timing is eventually going to hit. It's like people who play the lottery all the time.
Yeah.
Eventually, you keep gambling your money away, and then one day you hit it.
And you're never going to win if you don't
Not promoting people to gamble.
We just want to preface that.
I'm promoting people to play metalcore, okay?
I love it.
Which is gambling.
It's just a different kind.
Yeah.
It's so good. Dude, Cody.
Yes.
I could sit here and talk to you.
Yeah,
forever.
It's been great, honestly. Again, thank you so much for being interested in what I do, what the band does, and just having me here. I think you guys have an incredible program here.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
It's awesome to see
Thank you.
how supportive and tight-knit the central Pennsylvania music scene is. Like, we've established some of the biggest and best metalcore bands out there, and just bands in general. And it's just such a cool thing to give back to, you know?
Absolutely.
We're so happy and thankful for bands like you and everybody else that is, given to the community and given back. So thank you so much for this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you.
Alan, that was a great conversation with Cody. Very down-to-earth guy.
I just loved how transparent and real he was. And I love that he talked about how that really resonates with the fans. Yeah. That's how they connect. They just show how real and genuine they are. And he has no reason to put any fluff out there or lie about the whole process. I love the advice that he gave for future musicians and everything. Yes. And with that being said, the next time you're thinking about a music podcast, think about the podcast by musicians, for musicians. Think CPMP. See you next time.